All right, well, hello and welcome back. This is Joe Brownlee with Palm Beach State College, and you are watching the Intermediate Algebra Final Exam Review Series. We are on question number 17, and so let's get to it. So just like number 16, if you watched the previous video, our directions are to use the rules of exponents to simplify the expression, write the answer with positive exponents, assume that all variables represent positive real numbers. All right, so question number 17 gives us x to the 4/3 squared over x to the 3rd to the 5/3 power. All right, well, like we talked about in question number 16, we have to go back towards the beginning of the semester and recall some of the rules of exponents. And so we can review, if I were to give you x squared to the 4th, hopefully you'll recall that this is a power to a power, and so we multiply the powers together to get x to the 8th. Well, we're going to use that same rule here in question number 17, except instead of having a whole number, we have a fraction, but that's no problem because we're still going to multiply the powers together. So let's go ahead and come down here, because really this is saying 4/3 times 2. So 4/3 times 2, and of course we can write 2 as a fraction, 2/1. And when we multiply, we don't have to worry about common denominators or anything like that. We just go from left to right, straight across. So 4 times 2, well, that gives me 8. And then for my denominator, 3 times 1 gives me 3. And so when I raise x to the 4/3 to the 2nd power, I get x to the 8/3. And so that is my simplified numerator. And let's go ahead and do the same thing with our denominator. So I have x to the 3rd raised to the 5/3 power. Well, this is going to be 3/1, because I can rewrite 3 as a fraction by putting it over 1. And then, of course, we're going to multiply that by 5/3. And just go from left to right again, multiplying. Well, what's 3 times 5? Well, that gives me 15. What is 1 times 3? Well, that gives me 3. And so when I raise x to the 3rd to the 5/3 power, I get x to the 15/3. All right, but I'm not quite finished yet. You might recall earlier in the semester that we talked about top-heavy and bottom-heavy when it comes to exponents. And I see that I have similar bases, and I'm dividing, so that's how I know to look out for a top-heavy, bottom-heavy problem. And in order to do top-heavy, bottom-heavy, when we are dealing with fractional exponents, we have to have the same denominator. In this case, we do. We have a denominator of 3. And so once our denominator is the same, we just look at the numerator and ask ourselves, are we top-heavy or are we bottom-heavy? So in this case, I have x to the 8/3 over x to the 15/3. And so I clearly am bottom-heavy. And so I ask myself, well, how many am I bottom-heavy by? Well, 15 minus 8 gives me 7. So I'm bottom-heavy by 7. And when I rewrite this, I'm going to subtract now my exponents. So this is really 15 over 3 minus 8 over 3, which is going to give me, since I have common denominators, my denominator just moves over, and I deal with my numerator. 15 minus 8, what we just said is 7, and so I'm going to have a 7/3. But where do we write that 7/3? Well, wherever the exponent was originally heavy is where it's going to remain. So in this case, we were originally heavy in our denominator, and so our exponent is going to remain in the denominator, but we're going to use our new exponent, which has now been subtracted from the numerator, and so we're going to have x to the 7/3. But we can see that when I subtracted, I got rid of my numerator, which I can never do. I can never have a blank numerator. So when my numerator eliminates, I have to replace it with a 1. And so my final answer is 1 over x to the 7/3 power. All right, so again, just make sure that we recall those earlier rules of exponents and take it step by step and make sure that we're multiplying, and as soon as we have like denominators for our bases, then we go ahead and say, all right, am I top heavy or am I bottom heavy? And to do that, we just look at our numerators. All right, well, this was question number 17. We are going to move along to question number 18. This was Joe Brownlee with Palm Beach State. Thanks for watching.